the amount of price of Arabica beans is really pretty incredible. We look at the charts, and this could also translate even more into how much we pay for our cup of coffee. Does the rally still have room to run?
All-time records, only due to speculation. 70% of the trading is due to investors which have nothing to do with coffee and only buy it to make speculation. And in 1 month, the annual crop is being sold, just to give you the figures.
And Andrea, speculation for what? Because there's also a number of challenges,
been a trigger,
right? Yeah.
Due to meteorological adverse effects, drought in Vietnam, first in Brazil, later last year, which might cause a slight deficit in production. Traders are fighting between each other about the forecasts, because some say that the deficit will not be there. Some others say that it will be minimal. Some others say that there is a structural deficit accumulating 1/4 of the annual production over 5 or 6 years. Very, very confused. And this is made more difficult, in this case, by some, let's say, governmental situations, like the deforestation law here in Europe, which has been postponed. Last minute, it was supposed to be enforced in January 1st this year. It has been postponed 1 year, but doesn't say that this is the solution to only postpone. The threat of tariffs, and also some philanthropical agencies like USAID, which were very helpful in coffee, has been turned down. So the G7 initiatives comes 3 months ago with this declaration that supporting, promoting a public-private partnership for investing in coffee, resilience and sustainability. Is fantastic, and this is what we need to do.
But Andrea, when you look at the prices, and we have some great, people following this in the commodities. I mean, they tell me that my cup of coffee, could go up by 25% in price in the next 3 to 4 months. Is this a possibility?
It is possible, but in the perception of people, consumers, coffee is expensive. It is not, because if you look at the per serving, the price of coffee is quite low in our, let's say, basket. And we have to consider that with this low price, these 12.5 million micro growers, because we have to consider the statistic, 30% of the coffee is produced by only 30,000 middle large growers. The remaining 70% is produced by 12.5 million micro growers in over 40 countries. Half of them living under the poverty threshold. So how much are we going to pay the coffee? Is it a remunerative price? Is it an ethical price for the whole supply chain? So this is something we shall consider in the equation, and we shall also be aware about the value of coffee for our life. It makes you live better and longer, makes you happier, active, and healthier.
Not everyone agrees, but as an Italian, it's difficult.
There are every year another scientific studies proving that it's about longevity. And it's protective about many, many cancers and diabetes and cardiovascular diseases and so on.
I mean, certainly a lot of people enjoy drinking it. When you see these high prices, does it change consumer behavior? Do people drink less? Do they drink differently? Does it impact
There is a certain elasticity, which is the risk. Because now you trigger these ballooning prices. Historically, every time there has been a price peak, there has been a dramatic drop within the next 5 years. Last time the peak was $3.17. 5 years later, 40 cents per pound. And this is dramatic because it impacts on quality, it impacts on poverty, it impacts on everything. We don't want that to repeat history once again, just for short-term speculation. So this is really the time for the world coffee community stakeholders to react to this G7 solicitation to team up and invest in the coffee plantation for regenerative agriculture, which is much more resilient against meteorological effects, and also more healthier in terms of the product that you produce, and also renovating the plantation which are too old.
And Andrea, in the more immediate term, with these very high prices, we've heard that some roasters actually are delaying getting deliveries because they thought it'd be lower. Are you hearing anything like that of roaster? I mean, is it changing anything at Illy, for example?
So the supply chain is what it is. Coffee consumptions are every day. So you need to buy coffee whenever necessary. Of course, tactically, you can try to compress your stocks for a certain period of time, but you have to buy.
So it doesn't really change radically.
No.
The way, I mean, you know, the other overlay is possible tariffs on these trade wars. Do you think coffee will be impacted?
At the moment, there are no evidences that imported green coffee in the United States to be threatened. But, you know, some of the countries threatened by tariffs, like Mexico, Colombia, etc., are large coffee-producing countries. But I wouldn't consider this as one of the main threats.
Can I ask you, for a company like Illy, what's the biggest challenge when Arabica beans are so costly?
To maintain consistency, this is our priority. Quality, maintaining the same relationship, loyal relationship, long-term relationship with coffee growers, at the sacrificing the short-term profitability, which is a problem for all coffee companies, which then for the listed one it reflects in the stock price. So it's just chaos.
And this is like to continue. How does this get fixed, actually, unless there is some kind of
investing in the coffee plantation for resilience and better agricultural practices. This is what we need to do, because we shall always remember that this trend of the meteorological impact of coffee production is consistent with a prediction that over 50% of the suitable land for coffee agriculture will be gone by 2050. So we must react, and tropical crops don't have the financial and even the institutional capacity to make the necessary investment to create resilience. We have to make the investment, governments and private sector, from mostly consuming countries, because we have a cheaper cost of money and we have an interest that these countries produce good coffee for our lives and also stay in good, let's say, socio-economical conditions in their agricultural economies.
Andrea, thank you so much, as always, of course, for joining us. Andrea Illy, the chairman of Illycaffè. I also need to make sure, I mean, this is not coffee. I'm Italian. I only drink espresso, so I don't want to get in trouble with anyone.